pretty much nothing left. Good deeds. Sign up for a CPR course. Ooh, back when I was a 6th grader, we actually did this. I guess in 6th grade, now that I think about it. We initially went over it in theory, but in 7th grade, I want to say, is when we actually got the certificate. But I really feel like it was 6th grade because I vividly remember the teacher I had. Anyway, sometime in middle school, it was either 6th grade through 8th grade. I actually had the little certification that I completed the training for the American Red Cross CPR thingy. And I have that little card somewhere. It's in one of my old wallets. I saw it the other day. And basically, this course was probably the most meaningful to me in health class because I actually felt like I was learning something that was useful and practical. And what it was my school somehow scored some kind of arrangement with legit professionals along with my teachers to bring mannequins. It was pretty much the torso with a head. It was being discussed what you're supposed to do. If you find someone lying on the ground, you go like, Johnny, are you okay? And if they don't respond, you check for their vitals. Now, this was a long time ago, so don't judge me. I should review this information. Fortunately, my accreditation only lasted a year. If they don't respond, that's when you're supposed to check for a pulse and if they're breathing. I don't know in what order, but basically confirm that this clown is alive at the very least. And if he isn't, then you gotta figure out what kind of, I guess, thing could be hindering the vitals from showing. Like, is this fool not having a pulse at all? Pretty much call him dead. If he's already blue, he's definitely very dead, not bouncing back from that. But if they're not breathing, more than likely they could have some kind of obstruction. At some point, you're supposed to start doing the chest compressions. I want to say that happens if they're not breathing and if there is no pulse. So you do however many it was. I want to say it was 20, 25. And then you're supposed to use that little baggy thingy. It was like some kind of plastic and it had like a mouth part. I forget what it was exactly. Maybe it had like cotton in it. I don't know. I don't fucking remember this. It's been decades. But anyway, it's like this thing that you can put over the person's face so that you don't actually come into contact with them, with like their mouth, their face. And through that little plasticky thingy, you could breathe into the mouth. I guess insert carbon dioxide ridden air into this person's lungs. I always thought about that. I never dared to ask how this was actually helpful, but I think it's more about expanding the lungs, getting the lungs to have some kind of air. But the most important thing you gotta remember is that you're supposed to pinch the nose, because if you don't pinch the nose, then the air that you blow in is just gonna come right out. It's something that some people used to forget a lot. And I don't know how people would forget it when that's all that the teachers did. They were like, pinch, mouth, blow. To this day, I still remember the recreation that my teacher did. But again, I felt like it was a very good course because as a middle schooler, I was thinking to myself, I'm actually learning something that I like to learn about, which is how to respond to cases of emergency. Even if you don't run into it or you have never run into it before, at the very least, be familiar with what kinds of emergencies you could potentially encounter, and that way you can respond adequately. But yeah, I just remember that being pretty cool, and I'm always disappointed that at jobs that's not something we do. We have the fire drill here and there, and by here and there, I mean it's been years since I've done such a thing. And the only time we did the tornado drill that I could recall was either when I was hired or one random time when we all happen to be present during that shift. It's not like we were scheduled to have a training of tornado drill, emergency, reaction, response type of thing. It was, if you were there, great. If you weren't there, you missed it. But when it comes to that, like CPR and stuff, I have always wished that every job made that a requirement. In the same manner, we do trainings pretty much every quarter about what you're supposed to be up to date with, your food handling safety certificate thingy, which every year I get the same questions wrong because I am one of those people who needs to learn by doing or observing things on the field, because sometimes you may have a really convoluted way of phrasing something. CPR is something that I have always wondered why we don't do that. Why is it that as adults we aren't ever expected to go back to a school setting unless you're a teacher or unless you're in college as a student or something? There really isn't anything to review this material. It's, at least in my time since I have graduated from high school, never have any of those things ever come back up. And I'm disappointed because I feel like we all need to be at the very least familiar with some basics. And I feel like a lot of people tend to panic first and then react later. I feel like I could do pretty well about reacting, and then the panic will settle in after I have the processing time of what the fuck just happened, and then start thinking about it. In my experience dealing with emergencies before, that's how it's been. It's like, shit, I went through that, and as it was happening, I was like acting on impulse and instinct. But now that I think about what really happened, it's like, holy shit, I actually saw that, went through that, witnessed that, blah, blah, blah. But at least it was never anything life-threatening. It's just one of those things that I'm glad I was there so that I could react and support somebody. But yeah, you guys, this, if the opportunity finds me, I would never ever turn it down. In fact, I should actively try to see if I can find it. Something I'm sad about is that the sheriff's office was offering a self-defense class for women, but unfortunately I was scheduled to work, and I found out about this by the time the schedule had been posted, so it's not like I had the option of requesting it to be off. But yeah, I would like to learn some of that because I have never ever been formally instructed in self-defense. I think that's something that schools should go over to. Self-defense, CPR, and how to put out a fire. Like, create a flame in a controlled setting and show us how to use a bloody fire extinguisher. I've only been shown it in theory, but I've never actually seen it in action. And from what I remember feeling, that shit is heavy. So you gotta like also train us on how to literally grasp at this thing. Well, there you guys have it. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what kind of emergencies you have encountered. Have you ever had to drag anybody, pick up somebody, put flames out of somebody, tourniquet somebody, just any of that? I love listening to stories like that because those are very real things that happen. And anything that has to do with life-saving tips, advice, I'm always willing to hear it. Even if I may not put it to practice or put it to practice perfectly, at least I heard of it. At the very least, I want to be aware. Okay, that's it. Bye.